What kind of baby waterfowl are sheltering under mom's feathers? A mute swan, American pekin duck, or a snow goose? Either an American pekin duck or a mute swan. I'm willing to say it's a swan. Swan. Correct. These mute swan cygnets, as they are called when young, are characterized by their dark bills and gray down. As they grow, their bills will turn orange and their feathers will fade to white. As adults, they'll weigh up to 30 pounds, the second largest waterfowl species, just behind the trumpeter swan or trumpeter. I knew this one because I had learned the story of swans and how they changed from their baby form or their duckling form or whatnot into being like a big grand swan that people know and admire. Uh, it came along with, I believe, the story of the Ugly Duckling. It was you can identify a swan because sometimes they are like they start out as an ugly duckling and then they turn into a swan. Well, the story of the ugly duckling was um, they're an ugly duckling now when they're just a kid, but then as you get older, whatever, then as you get older, whatever. Well, I mean, it was the whole point is if you're an ugly duckling, the moral of the story was where if you were a human to relate to the story of the ugly duckling, you felt like one day you were going to grow into a beautiful swan or whatnot. I think the duckling looked a lot different than his fellow ducklings or the peers around him, the other ducklings, because that duckling wasn't just a normal duck. That one actually was growing into a big swan. And that story always resonated with me. It's for people that stand out that are a little bit different than the other ones in their area or wherever they are. And because they're growing and they're going to become like maybe a bit different of a creature than some of their other peers that are around them or whatnot. But there's other swans. There's lots of swans too, like that are fully grown adult swans. Ugly duckling nails. This is in, I'm not sure where, but area code 250. Let's check that in a minute. Area code British Columbia. They have an ugly ducklings nail place in British Columbia. Ugly Duckling Nails Incorporated. Proudly Canadian. 100% Canadian owned and operated. We manufacture quality nail products available exclusively to professional nail technicians. Believe it or not, even I've went to the nail place a couple times, 2 times. Got a pedicure and a manicure 2 times. The first time was really good, and then I went for no reason the second time, and I got a good hand massage and foot massage too. And I had sort of well, it wasn't really bad yet. It started, there was like a little infection had started on my toe, and they used this chemical or whatever. They clean your toes up proper. So clean that it even kills any sort of fungal infections and whatever when you go.
Lynn, today I'm gonna tell you the story of an ugly duckling.
An ugly duckling?
Oh, yes. Once upon a time, down on an old farm lived a duck family. The mother duck had been sitting on a clutch of new eggs, and one fine morning, the eggs hatched.
That cannot be my egg. Huh? What an ugly duckling! Oh, don't tease him. Come, let's go.
Oh, I am an ugly duckling. Nobody loves me. Wow, such beautiful birds. I wish I was like them. I am an ugly duckling and nobody loves me. I wish I was beautiful.
He was sad.
I wish I was beautiful like other birds.
The
Beautiful.
Oh, what a beautiful swan. Come, swim with us.
The duckling had turned into a beautiful swan.
Wow.
So, Len, that
The Ugly
was the
Duckling.
story of an ugly
On a beautiful
duckling.
summer day, a family of ducks is taking a swim while another is enjoying a stroll by the bank. But one duck is sitting on her eggs among the tall leaves.
I wonder when my babies are going to come out. They are taking so long to hatch. It is so lonely. No one has the time to visit me.
But Mommy Duck didn't have to wait too long. Soon the eggs started cracking and the little ducklings started taking small, unsteady steps out of their shells.
Quack, 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 quack. Oh, my babies are so beautiful. Now come and line up here, all of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, there should be one more.
Mother Duck looked around and saw one egg which had not yet hatched.
I think I will have to sit again on this egg till it hatches. It seems pretty large.
Soon the last egg hatched, but the duckling that crept out was large and ugly.
This little fellow doesn't look like his brothers and sisters.
The next day, Mother Duck leads her brood to the water.
Oh, I am proud today that my ducklings are swimming so.
But as days went by, things started becoming worse for the ugly duckling. Wherever he went, everyone was mean to him.
Have you ever seen anything uglier than this?
Seeing this creature in the morning, my day will also be as ugly as he is.
He seems to be getting uglier by the day.
The ugly duckling just wanted to hide somewhere and cry. Even his brothers and sisters were rude to him. Mother Duck was very
Please stay here. That cottage there looks warm.
You see your face in the mirror? Look at me. My coat is so silky. Look at my whiskers, so long and beautiful. The mistress says my walk is so graceful.
You are such a loser. You cannot even lay an egg. Look at my eggs. Such lovely, big and brown ones.
The ugly duckling continued to be lonely. He would sit in front of the window looking at the small pond outside.
How I wish I could swim in that pond. It used to be so nice when I swam in the cool water back home. Are you mad? The mistress isn't going to let you go. You have a safe house. What
I want to.
The Ugly Duckling.
This channel is pretty good. This and the last one, these are pretty good. Reiterations of the story of the Ugly Duckling. I like this cover. I never seen this one, but stare at it too long. There's many different covers. And I think the next book that I like with a good message like the Ugly Duckling is The Boy Who Cried Wolf. I've never seen any of the covers for it. But I've heard some stories. But these are the great modern works. People have worked these ones with all the new modern designing and everything, and writing and video. It's a good look because I haven't heard the stories or watched any of these stories since the 90s, and people have redid all your classic stories for 2022 and before 2020, 2022, even before then. It's all, but it's better than the 90s stuff. But without the 90s stuff, you wouldn't have the new stories. But I knew they were doing that with music and all that. But I didn't know they were doing that. Well, I knew that some people, I guess, why there's so many people doing so much stuff, I assume that there would be. I like this one. Look at this one. She's got all, oh yeah, that was the story. Part of the story too was that there was a mother swan or a mother duck or whatever, and she had all these normal ducklings, and then but the other duckling was part of the crew. He was part of the family, but he would always like Willow. No, not Willow. I was gonna say Willow and self pity, but I don't know. He would always sit there and sort of be depressed about why he looked different than his fellow ducklings. And but the mother would feel bad for him just a bit, but uh, he was supposed to rise to the occasion. I think was what everyone thought. At the end, the swan was to rise to the occasion. The what? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's the story. The Ugly Duckling. Walt Disney's The Ugly Duckling. There's a lot of different Ugly Ducklings. Basically, I think God has this story, and if you want to, if you have the skills to do it, if you're just some private person, independent, you could make it, or like a big gigantic studio makes the story all different ways. It's just a story that comes out of life sometimes, and it's your duty to grasp it and make something out of it, and that will be an addition to the duckling series. What's this? The Ugly Duckling Ramadani's thing? Ramadani's life story. Whoever this guy was cares a lot about this story that they wrote that. I think every man or woman at one time relates to the ugly duck. And then at the other point, I think everybody also relates to the normal ducks too. So yeah, that is, Swan or the ugly duckling ended up to grow a bit more braver and stronger and larger, whatever, than the other ducks because it was a different breed. It was like this big, gigantic swan. They lead the way or whatever. That's what I think it is. Swans lead the way because they're a much larger bird and everything. So the ducks follow behind the swan and whatnot. If there's any defense or attack and anything that they need to be doing while they're on their, like hypothetically, on their travel through whatever waterway they are, usually a pond or a lake or whatever, I guess, or a small, not a lake, but a pond, probably a pond or something like that. The swans were the bigger sort of ones that led the way. So they ended up being more. It was hard when they were young, but then they started growing and they be. It's hard to explain. Like that feeling induces like a chemical release in your body or something. They grow into a different. It's in your DNA, I guess, and then you just grow into whatever you were meant to grow into. And then, but guess what? You and your friends were like, hey, you were a little bit weird hiding in the bushes or whatever back then, but now you're a big swan and whatnot, and you got to lead the way. Um, because now we need you in the world and everything like that. And that was the whole purpose, and yada yada. The mother duck was very happy, but she was also surprised when she saw her great big duckling with its huge head and its noisy quacking. She looked strange and ugly compared to other smaller yellow ducklings. The mother duck brought her ducklings some food. The ugly duckling ate more than the others. Our ugly sister has eaten all the food, said one duckling. We are still hungry, added another. Her tummy is as big as her head, laughed another. I like this one. This one's more of a farm get together. You got the rooster, you got the duck, you have the You have and then you have this where they try picking on the ugly duckling. Where the ugly duckling at the time, he may be outnumbered by the rest of the similarity breeds of his peers, and they may pick on the duckling and whatnot, or even push the duckling to suicide or depression or whatnot. But the whole point of, well, this, how I always seen it was, if you were that, you were supposed to persevere and grow into that swan that everybody was jealous of, and then eventually the jealousy would turn into, well, a need for you, and if not, the ducklings, then they would have to fend for themselves, those smaller ducks. The duckling was bigger than the rest of them. Instead of soft and yellow, his feathers were rough and gray. Instead of quacking, the duckling honked. Instead of walking gracefully, he waddled. These ones walk gracefully, I guess, and these ones waddle.